So, Sunday evening and the last evening of my week of Les Mills Barre techniques tips. So tonight we're going to look at jumps and turns. And we're going to start with the jumps. So before we actually go into any of the jumps we're going to look at tonight, I just want to remind you of 2 points that I spoke about last night when I spoke about the changement, which is one of the 3 jumps you will encounter in barre. And those points were that you always start your jump in a downward position, so in a demi-plie, or for some of your jumps in a fondue with the knees out over the toes. Basic physics: if you want to go up, you need to first go down. You need to load the power into the legs to spring up into your jump. And the second point was we also land with that bend in the knees in either the demi-plie or into a fondued position if you're landing on one leg. And the reason for that is you shock absorb your landing. If you lock your knee joints, you're going to jar yourself as you land, and that's just going to end up being really uncomfortable in your joints. Whereas if you soften your joints as you land, you shock absorb into your landing and you protect your joints. So now we've got the important bits out of the way. There are 3 common jumps that you will encounter in barre. The first one we covered last night, the changement, the changing jump from third to third. So I'm not going to go through that one again tonight. We're going to do the other 2 tonight, and they are the split saute and the Arabesque Saut. So starting with the split saute, it's very, very similar to a changement. You would start in either first or third, depending on the other moves that are in the choreography. I'm going to do mine from first this evening. And you start the same. You demi-plie to load your jump. But this time, rather than swapping the feet from side to side as you jump, you actually introduce the split to your split saute. So you split the feet wide, hence the name split saute. Saute just means to jump with both feet. So you plie down, and as you jump, the feet go wide. The landing is soft in the knees, so you demi-plie as you land. It's as simple as that. So moving on, the Arabesque Saut. This is actually a slightly harder jump in my opinion, because most of the power in the Arabesque Saut is coming from one leg. So if I turn myself into the arabesque line, which we did earlier on in the week, we also spoke about a fondue earlier on in the week. Remember, melting into the knee. So there is your going down before you go up. Now quite often with the Arabesque Saut, you might like to just try a relevade arabesque to start off with. You quite often find the choreography will build you up. You'll start off with an arabesque, you'll work into a relevade arabesque, and then you'll work into your jump. Quite often your jump will start from a slightly narrower stance than the full arabesque line. That's not always the case. So we fondue into the knee, we go down. And saut just means to scissor. So that's all we're going to do. As we jump, we're going to scissor the legs, like so. And again, you'd often land a little bit narrower than you would for your full arabesque position, like so. Now quite often it's not a move that people take to naturally, it takes a bit of practice. So don't worry about staying with just a relevade arabesque to start off with, or even just trying a little tiny hop just to get used to the idea of being off the ground. So that brings us on to the move that most people dread the most in a barre class, the pirouette, or the turn. Now there's 2 reasons why people hate turns. Reason number 1 is they feel off balance. They feel like they're going to fall over as they turn. So I'm going to address that one first. You remember I spoke earlier on in the week about zipping the abdominals. I gave you that picture of imagining you're pulling up a pair of skinny jeans and zipping through your abdominals to get your skinny jeans done up. That is the start of your pirouette. So to basically get yourself used to the start of your pirouette, you would actually do a releve retire. So remember, retire is lifting the foot to the opposite knee, releve is lifting to the ball of the foot. So you would releve retire, zipping through your abdominals. And as long as you've got that really nice brace of the abdominals, that zip of the abdominals, as you lift, that's going to help your balance. That's going to take away that feeling that you're going to fall over. The other reason people hate turns, and it's a very valid point if you're doing them incorrectly, they say, it makes me feel dizzy. And yeah, if you're doing a turn incorrectly, totally, it will make you feel dizzy. So I want to explain to you a technique this evening called spotting that's going to help you with that dizziness. And this is where I need to give you another quick apology, because I don't come from a dance background. Any of you that know me will know that my background is more martial arts than dance. So I learned the technique of spotting through martial arts. You would do what's known as a spin kick in a martial art, so you would spin round and right at the end of your spin you would kick your opponent. And because of that I probably will explain spotting slightly different than a dancer would, but the basic technique is identical for both martial arts and for dance. So, oh, and another quick apology, or maybe just an explanation with a slight apology attached to it. In dance there are two styles of spin or pirouette. You can do a closed or an open turn. So with a closed turn, whichever leg is lifted turns in towards the body. So if I lift this leg, I would turn this way for a closed turn. However, there's also an open turn, and with an open turn it's the opposite. You open your body as you turn, so whichever leg is lifted, you turn away from the body. So with an open turn, I would turn in this direction. I'm going to show you closed turns this evening, purely because, as I mentioned, I come from a martial arts background, and whilst dancers actually tend to prefer open turns because they are far more graceful, martial artists prefer closed turns. Because in martial arts you want to protect your body, you don't want to give your opponent a target, so you always close your turn, so you protect your body as you turn. So yeah, slight apology that I'm going to actually show you mainly closed turns this evening rather than open turns. So back to the point, I've been waffling, back to the point, spotting. The easiest way to learn spotting is to actually keep both feet on the ground initially. To basically just do a soutenu or a turn on the balls of the feet. I'm going to show you incorrectly first of all. So if I roll up to the balls of my feet and I walk my feet round like so. Now that's the wrong way of doing a turn, and it's wrong because my head was turning the whole time my body was turning. And believe me, if you do that a few times, you are going to start feeling dizzy. Even one time quite quickly, you are going to start feeling dizzy. So what you do is you spot. In martial arts we refer to it as spotting a target, but obviously in dance you don't have a target. So you want to pick a point just over the shoulder that you are turning over. So I've got a handy picture just over my shoulder there. So again, I'm going to roll up to the balls of my feet ready for my soutenu. But this time, the first thing I'm going to do is look at that picture. I'm then going to perform my soutenu, walking my feet round. I'm still looking at my picture. I am still looking at my picture. I get to there and my neck says, you can't look at that picture anymore. So I flick my eyes back to the front and I complete my turn. And you notice when I did it that way, my head only moved twice rather than being continually moving. So it moved once. It moved twice. And that is how you're going to stop yourself from feeling dizzy, because your head is not constantly moving as you turn. It's just 1, 2. Believe me, it does work, but it takes a lot of practice to get used to. So the soutenu is actually the ideal way to practice it. literally just look, walk, 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 and flick. So once you're used to your spotting in your soutenu, then we can move on to the actual pirouette. So I've already mentioned the fact that you would zip your abs and you would releve as at the beginning of your turn. Now the arms are also important in the turn. Quite often you would lift the arms either to first, or maybe you would extend one arm. And you use those arms to power your turn. So you flick, flick with the arms as you turn. And then you have to build that spotting into the whole business as well. So you would find your target, you would lift, flick, flick and turn. This floor's not ideal for doing this on. So if I try that again, I spot my target, I lift, flick, flick, I turn. So there we go. And eventually, once you get that flick, flick really good, and if you're on just the right surface, you might actually be able to turn more than once. Maybe a turn and a half, maybe two. Challenge yourself and see what you can manage to do. But get that spotting right first so you don't feel dizzy. So remember, ab brace, spot, and you won't go wrong. But also remember, in every single track where you encounter the turn in Les Mills Barre, it is entirely optional. You don't have to do it. The choreography will always give you an option, and you're always free to take that option. Or you can just soutenu and keep yourself on the floor, a little bit more stable, but still get to have the fun of doing the turn. So there we go, the last evening of our tips, jumps and turns. If there's any moves that I've forgotten to cover over the course of the week, or any terms that you've heard in a Les Mills Barre class that you don't understand, then please feel free to let me know what it is that you're finding confusing or difficult, and I will be more than happy to just do another quick video for you. Thank you very much.